Before I move to the topic for presentation, I just want to make a quick opening statement. One, this is a workshop. This is not a normal city council meeting. City council meetings are in cycle, meaning we have them on the second Tuesday of every month. This is not that. This is a public workshop. Sometimes there are workshops and there's not a whole lot of public interest or appeal, and those workshops occur with the commission and staff. That is not the case today, and that's why we wanted to open it, make sure that the public was included. Also, the city manager and city staff and the commission and myself are big advocates of transparency. And what we don't want to ever do is to bring people into contact when the information is like on the 4th, 5th, 6th step. All right, so you're here for step one. Tonight, what we'll hear, this body has not heard before. We have not heard any presentation. The information I have, I would describe as cursory. And so what we're doing is it's a workshop. No decision will be made tonight. Let me repeat that. No decision will be made tonight. Tonight is an evening for us to get the information we need, for you to get the information you need, and for you folks, the citizenry, to offer up your thoughts and opinions if you wish. The second thing I would say is this: is a lifelong citizen of Baker County. Before I was mayor, I was a commissioner. Before I was commissioner, I was on the zoning exceptions board, and my experience has been that the citizens of Macclenny and of Baker County are generally reasonable, capable, bright, friendly, and respectful. With that in mind, I would just remind everyone that we do have a pledge of civility. All right, we definitely want to hear you, and we want you to be heard. But of course, we want to keep it clean. We want to keep our volume reasonable, inside voices in conversation. Okay. With that being said, the topic for presentation this evening is a presentation by England, Thims, and Miller Incorporated about possible future annexation and development of land adjacent to and east of the city's municipal boundaries. Do we have a report from staff first, or are we going to have?
I think so. We're going to hear from the developer's team.
Very good. So if the developer team of the folks that are going to speak can come up together or one at a time, however you want to do it. If you would, just your name and address for the public record.
Doug Miller, 14770.
Yeah, I need
St. Augustine.
Sorry.
Hang on just a second.
Okay, it's not. I don't think it's you, Doug. I think it's just the audio. It's all right.
Can we adjust the volume?
Okay. 14775 Old St. Augustine Road. Just need more volume.
It needs more.
Yeah, it needs more volume. We
we can hear him back here.
Yeah.
Is this a little better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Old St. Augustine Road, Jacksonville, Florida. So I've been doing this for 47 years. I've actually been working on this piece of property for 25 years. So I'm pretty familiar with Baker County and Macclenny, and all my career's been in Northeast Florida. So first I want to thank both the commission and Mike for orchestrating this and letting us come and present this to you. But mostly I want to thank you for coming out for this cold, and there's a football game tonight. So we've got probably about a 20-25 minute presentation, and of course we want to hear from you. There's no monopoly on good ideas, and we made the rounds already, and met with staff and some of the sheriff's office, and want to make sure what problems you've had in the past, the plan addresses those. So let's get started. This project is called Midpoint Commons. It's really composed of really three components. There's Midpoint Commerce Center, which is light industrial, primarily warehouse distribution, about 10.5 million square feet. There is Midpoint Parkway, which is a truck bypass that we've been trying to get built in Baker County and get trucks from particularly the Walmart Distribution Center out of downtown. This is a big component of making that a reality. And then Midpoint Village, which is a residential component, you're gonna hear a little bit about our agri-hood and what the heck is that, and I'll do my best to explain that to you. But first, let's kind of figure out where we are. The blue is the current city limits of the city of Macclenny. So the dotted area is the Midpoint Commons area. It's about 2,000 acres. It's really bounded by, on the south by I-10, on the north by the railroad, on the east by the county line, and it pretty much abuts the existing city on the west side. So this is just a blow up of it. As you can see, because of the rail, there's really no access from US 90 without a flyover. There's no access from Nassau County. I-10's a limited access road, so no access. And there's really frontage on, 5th Street or 228, just a little bit north of the interstate of I-10. So we talked about this. This is something that's literally been in a plan for more than a decade. And this is existing truck route for the industrial development, particularly the Walmart distribution center. It goes west on US 90, 5th Street to access I-10. And, I think there's a few trucks that actually didn't quite make that turn to get on the 5th Street and has actually hit the corner of the building there. So this has been a long-term goal of the city to get this truck traffic out of the city. This has been a proposal for, like I said, more than a decade, is to create a flyover of the rail and US 90 into the industrial park and bring those trucks through this piece of property and connect at the signal at Walmart and let them access directly and bypasses the downtown of the city of Macclenny. This project is an integral part of making this reality, and you'll see why. So what is this project? Well, I talked about the job center, the 10.5 million square feet of warehouse distribution, 300,000 square feet of commercial and retail, and that would primarily be located between I-10 and this proposed new road and flyover. 10.5 million square feet equates to about 5,000 jobs. 300,000 square feet in commercial retail equates to about 1,500 jobs. So we're talking about 6,500 jobs in Baker County, if this is annexed in the city of Macclenny, and I'll show you why that. You're going to ask yourself, what do I, as a resident, get out of this project? And I'll show you what that is. So this is what the industrial component will look like. And again, it's primarily on the eastern part of the project, abutting I-10, abutting the rail. The 300,000 square feet of retail is back closer to 5th Street. I can tell you there's already a major grocer that's interested in this property. This piece of property here is already in the county, in the city, and is already zoned for commercial. So it's really not a change from that perspective. The one change there is providing a buffer between these existing residents and around this land that's not included in the project, which would remain in the county. That buffer doesn't exist in the existing zoning plan. It will exist in this one. So, question is, what goes here? And obviously that's the residential component. And that residential component is vital because that is what pays for the Blue Road. This Blue Road and the interchange improvements cost about $25 million. This flyover is about $25 million. The residential component would pay for that $25 million. And then we only need DOT to fund and do what they do best, which is do the bridge over the railroad. US 90 is obviously a state road. Just recently, the DOT had a funding for planning of this, and it was lost because it was unable to be executed, that funding. There is right of way that has been provided already for that road, but there's no money to build it. So what are we proposing there? And part of this is about being a master plan mixed use community, live, work, and play, 6,500 jobs, commercial services, and yes, residential component. But also, this is very different than the growth that you've seen today, which was primarily just subdivisions. And it's much more comfortable as a resident to hear, oh, 100 lot subdivision. I'm okay with that. But you get a 100 lot subdivision every year for 20, 25 years, and you've got exactly 2,500 homes. What you don't have is the amenities, the school sites, the regional park sites, the conservation of land, the $25 million worth of infrastructure improvements. That's what you get when you build a master plan mixed use community. And it also affords an additional tax base of both the residential and the non-residential. So this is proposed as an agri-hood. So what the heck is that? Well, there is a farm component that will actually be owned by the HOA, by the residents. They will own it. It'll be run by professional farmers, and it will produce produce that's in season. Now, this isn't taking this, everybody here is still going to the grocery store, but it will produce produce that's in season. It might be strawberries, it might be corn or whatever, it'll be a mix of things. It'll also provide an opportunity for farmers that are want to have their product. It might be honey, it might be beef. There'll be cooler space and shelf space in here if they want to put their product in for consignment as well. So it's a lifestyle. It's a healthy, eat healthy lifestyle. That's really what it is. It's, instead of doing a golf course, it's a farm, if you want to look at it that way. And quite frankly, we felt that fit the culture a little bit better, or we're, in context with where we are. So this is, their agri-hoods are now being built around the country. They're hugely popular. There's a big barn. The barn is also a gathering spot. It's not just the normal farm and market, but it also serves as that community common area. And, there are cooking classes there, and people once a week, they go and pick up their produce. It's kind of it's kind of like the post office used to be, where everybody got their mail and talked to one another in the community. There's also gardens in the neighborhoods, and they have you pick 'em gardens, and there might be one, maybe blueberries. There are actually trails, you pick 'em trails that they put through about a quarter of a mile, and you go through, and all the plants are identified, and they tell you a little bit about them, that you can pick, tomatoes or bell peppers or as you walk. So you get a little exercise and get a little food. But again, it's a lifestyle component. The communities that have been built as agri-hoods have about 90% participation. The original developers thought only about 50% would be good. But it's in the HOA fee. So they pay somewhere in the $30, $35 a month. And that funds the operation of the farm and the market. And so it creates a lifestyle, and then they can participate or not. But they also, since there's full-time help, if they want to do garden in their backyard, they also get professional help on what to do, or like me, when the bugs are eating everything, what do I do? So again, that's what an agri-hood is generally all about. But let's talk about some of the design issues that you've experienced that are problems in the subdivisions that have been built maybe over the last 10 years. So here's a good example. Not enough parking. Most of the houses, and this is, by the way, this is a standard lot of 75 by 100 feet, 7,500 square feet. That's your RS2 zoning. But this is a common issue that we have with, they build a 16-foot garage door, and they build a 16-foot driveway to the door, and in 16 feet, you can't park two cars and beside one another, because if you do, you can't get out the door. And this is a kind of a good example of what you get. I'll show you how we're addressing this so that we don't have this in this community. The other problem, and we heard this both from the fire chief and the sheriff, is this situation where on-street parking. And if you get, like we have here, a car parked on one side and the truck parked on the other side, the emergency vehicles, this is a life safety issue. They can't get through. And so how do we solve that problem? And so I'll show you how we solve that problem as well in this proposal. So here's the plan. The first thing we do is all driveways will be a minimum of 18 feet wide. Why? Because then you can park two cars. We have a 2-car garage, so we can get one car in the garage. It's just the way it is. So you have that ability now to park 2 cars in the driveway, and with a minimum setback of 24 feet, so that they're not hanging over the sidewalk. The other issue is we've widened the pavement. We have widened the pavement to 30 feet, which allows for a parking lane on one side of the road. So we don't have this life safety issue where somebody parks in the road and you can't get around it. And so it's both an aesthetics problem, but it's also a functional safety problem. Interestingly enough, you have some of this inside the city limits. If you drive down Fifth Street, there are places that have parallel parking on the side of the road in front of single-family houses. So you see that. I think over on 6th Street, north of 90, you have some of this. So this is not new. It's kind of going back. Because when many houses, when they were built, in the 40s and 50s, they didn't have a garage. And so parking on the street wasn't that unusual. So what we've tried to do is be sensitive to the issues, understand the problem, and address the problem so it's not a big problem in the future. So, hot topic. Your current RS2 zoning, there's minimum lot size is 75 feet by 100 feet, 7,500 square feet. The minimum lot size that we're proposing is 55 feet by 136 feet. Same 7,500 square feet, differently configured. Why are we doing that? Why do we do that? Well, first of all, it requires 26% less infrastructure. Roads, water, sewer, reuse, drainage, curb and gutter. It also is a more efficient lot layout, so that we can take some of that land in a master plan community and provide regional parks and provide school sites and provide conservation areas. And the truth is, people live in their backyard. They don't live in their side yard. And similarly, the only thing the side yard usually gets is a boat parked in it or an RV parked in it. But those are prohibited from parking at their house in this master plan community, because the master plan community actually has secured RV and boat storage in a community, and it's signed and it's secure, but you can go get your boat anytime. You can bring it to to your house and you can get it all cleaned up and ready to go fish in the morning, you can do that, but you can't park it there permanently. Same thing with your RV. So again, it's about building a community that people want to live in. So what does this look like? What do we have to do this? So this is the existing zoning and comprehensive plan, including future land use map. So remember, this is in the county today. So this is already industrial. This is commercial. This is in the city. This is already commercial. And this is agriculturally zoned. So what would it look like if we reorganize this? It would look like this. The industrial sort of gets aggregated together. The commercial that was here gets spread along I-10, spans the commercial. And we're adding in this certainty of what this is going to be. I showed you a map with a question mark there. And I know residential is a hot topic, and I understand that. But there's a certain planning hierarchy that's important. And we've got low density residential here. We're proposing a 1,000-foot buffer. This will remain in the county and remain just as it is. This is really the NAB property. It's all the NAB property, but they will continue to own this. 1,000-foot buffer, so the folks that live here, what they look at today will be the same in the future. Low density residential transitioning to a townhouse product, a medium density, transitioning to industrial or commercial. All inside one master plan community that includes school sites, park sites, and a new $25 million road. This project will build what's in blue, still left for the DOT to build the flyover. The truth is, this project doesn't need the flyover. This is trying to get something done that hasn't been done in the last 20 years of good effort, but not much progress. So that's what your comprehensive plan would look like. So what are the financial benefits to the city if this is annexed in? What we call a growth dividend. It was obvious from the non-residential, 10.5 million square feet of warehouse distribution would generate about $7.3 million in local ad valorem taxes. 21% goes to the city, 42% goes to the county, and 31% goes to the school. So 94% of every dollar in ad valorem stays in this community. The commercial, about 340,000. So the non-residential contributes about $7.6 million a year to the community. How about the residential? Well, we looked at, with your property appraiser's help, we looked at what the average market value of a single family home is in the city of Macclenny. It's $215,800. Assuming it's owner occupied and it gets homestead exemption, its taxable value is $164,000. It pays about $2,200 a year in taxes. That's an average. If it was at market value, it would be about $3,700 a year. And that's sort of the Save Our Homes dividend. And particularly with older housing stock, that Save Our Homes is a big difference. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Again, the same distribution, 94% stays in the community. So what about Midpoint Village? Average market value will be $400,000, homesteaded, $350,000 of taxable value. That's about $6,100 in ad valorem. That's $3,800 more than the average, in the current city of Macclenny. So you take that, that's about $15.2 billion. So significant, obviously. And that's every year. So if I'm an existing resident, it's okay, I hear y'all go, that's really interesting, but what exactly do I get? Well, the truth is, being able to spread the cost of services, municipal services, government services over a broader base brings down the cost. I mean, we're only gonna have one mic to pay, whether this is approved or not approved. We're only gonna have 5 commissioners, not that they make much money anyway, but so all those fixed costs of running a government, especially a small city government, are fixed, and if we can spread them over a larger base, it keeps everybody's taxes down. And the alternative is that we find ourselves in a situation where the cost of services keep going up. But if the tax base is capped to save our homes, the revenue doesn't keep going up. So you got 2 choices. You can either reduce your level of service or you raise your taxes, or you can build new tax base. So that's what the residents get out of that's what we call the growth dividend. So you add the non-residential and residential together, it's about $23 million a year in average annual revenue. So it's significant. I think Mike told me that the current budget's about $25 million a year for the city. So, not all that goes to the city, but it's significant. So, in closing, what do you get? What are the benefits for the existing residents? Well, you get job creation, 6,500 job opportunities. You get the trucks out of downtown. You get an increased tax base, and that keeps your ad valorem taxes low. You get new retail and professional service opportunities. Like I said, there's already a major grocer that's interested in being in this master plan community. You get a regional park site, a school site. The other thing you get is a master plan community that's somewhat self-contained. I mean, we only access the same part of the point that trucks access, which is at 228 and I-10. So those are the benefits. That's kind of what we're proposing. It's important to understand that this doesn't happen tomorrow. 2,500 homes don't pop out of the ground, the day after this project's approved. They'll grow to about 100 to 200 homes a year. So it's no different than approving 100 lot or 100 lot subdivisions a year, except those don't bring the benefits of a master plan community does, and doesn't bring the tax base. And so some of you, I'm sure, are thinking, well, just, we like the jobs, and we like the industrial, and we like the commercial, we just don't like the residential. The problem is commercial and industrial won't pay for the roads. They're usually looking for incentives even to come to the community. They don't pay for roads. The residential will pay 100% of the roads. That's just the reality. There are no perfect plans. Been doing this for 47 years. Haven't seen one yet. But this is a pretty darn good plan. And I think it also gives certainty of what's going to happen with this 2,000 acres. Because eventually something's going to go there. It might be a junkyard. It might be a rail, served component. It could be any of the uses that you might not be so supportive of that are residential. Having certainty of what's going to happen to this piece of property, I think, is an important component. And that's what the master plan community is. It gives you certainty. So with that, really got to be quiet, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions. And I really do want to get your feedback. And And I really do thank you for being here tonight and hosting us, so thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple of folks that have signed up that want to say a few words. But before we get that, real quick, I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and the commission, we wanted to thank the school board and Superintendent Wyatt Milton for letting us use this space. There's no way we could have crammed all of us into City Hall. This is probably about double capacity, I'd say, and we're very grateful. We really appreciate it. The other thing, and I apologize for this, Superintendent Milton told me this, and then I failed to share it. Through that large, dark door in the back, that black door in the back, there are restrooms. I should have probably let you know that at the very beginning. I apologize for not doing so. With that housekeeping being done, the first person I've listened here is Mr. Phil Roden. Mr. Phil Roden.
Oh, it's so slow coming up. What's the thank board, and I thank the mayor, the city manager for doing this, the developers for coming out. Wonderful presentation. That's your tall sign.
That's set for mayor height. You adjust it.
You want to sit down? Any better? Come a little close to it. I want to hold it, Mr. Chair. No, not really. I won't multitask with it. Is any better there?
Yeah, quite a bit better.
I'll try and stay close to it. But once again, thank y'all for this opportunity. It's kind of new to our community to be this open format, and I commend you for it. I'm in favor of the project. I'm not up here to bash the project, but I do have concerns as it's been displayed. And I'm sure as we move forward through the process, some of these can be alleviated if you agree with me on that. But I'll have a few things to kind of bring for you that I've researched as much as I can. These are all estimates, and not this is my sources as I go through. It's not just my opinion, but once again, we got another person. Law enforcement, annual cost of one law enforcement officer with salary and benefits is $80,000. I talked to the undersheriff and got these numbers from him. Uniform vehicle and necessary equipment is $65,000. That totals $145,000 per officer. Estimated number of officers needed if this project is completed is 10 officers. 10 officers equates to $1.45 million of recurring costs per year. It's not just one time, it's going to be recurring from time to morning. Jail capacity right now is 500 beds. 250 of those are designated for ICE inmates, 250 for U.S. Marshals and local inmates, and they're at max capacity. And the ICE inmates make a profit off of that. The U.S. Marshals is a slightly lower number of profit margin. The local inmates do not, they hope to break even. They're at max capacity, and this type of development is going to result in more crime. You've got to accept that, and that goes with it. As population increases, and every additional bed that has to be utilized by local inmates has to come from one of those other two sources. So keep that in mind, that you're going to lose revenue, and you're going to have additional existing costs for the county taxpayers for local inmates. Traffic impact, we talked about everything primarily going out, getting on I-10. So I guess they're not going to utilize any of the local businesses. Is that what we're hearing? They're not going to go to sporting events and around town, the community events, the Christmas parade, the Ghost in the Oaks. Don't think that it's not a one-way street. 2,500 residents times 2 vehicles per resident, which is a low number. You know that most families have 3 to 4 vehicles. That equals 5,000 vehicles, and if you only go in and out 2 times per day, and if you got teenagers, you know they go to Walmart and they try to go back to the house and then go to Starbucks, and they got to go to ball game, basketball game, so that number is very low. That's 20,000 vehicle trips per day through the intersection 228. But then it'll be more than that intersection because they're going to be utilizing the current resources of this town, and we want them to. All that's in the interest of the development. Calculation does not include traffic from existing homes that's there, the future industrial component of this development, or the water line that is currently being planned to go out there. It's going to be several thousand. I would think customers today, I don't know what that number is, you probably have that provided. We don't think 20,000 trips is all that's going to be there. It's going to be greatly a larger number than that. I would suggest setting a limit on the number of homes that can be built until the planned US 90 access is available to include the flyover and improvements to US 90 that are also going to be necessary. That road's not adequate if you dump it out on there. And once again, I saw Commissioner Jimmy Bennett come in the back. He's fought to get that flyover there, get across from there. And so I don't know what this development's going to do that he hasn't been able to do. Hopefully they have more influence. They got more dollar resources already, and the county just begging for help. Maybe they can get something done. But I didn't hear any assurance of that happening. And as he said, it's not needed for their development. No, it's because it's one way in and one way out. If you're that last home and you're building a home out there almost directly across from Walmart DC, you imagine what your wait time's going to be to get out on the road? You want to be the last out without a doubt that peak travels. The other thing is fire department impacts. I am concerned with fire response capability with existing resources. Our current response capability is 2 vehicles and 3 firefighting apparatuses. That's a total of 6 firefighters, which includes 2 officers, and all are located on the north side of the railroad tracks. Although that's an issue, we've had times in the past when we needed to be able to get across the tracks, get our equipment over there. We've had city employees pick up firefighters to go to Station 2 and pick up the secondary equipment to respond. You're putting a lot of people at risk out there. And when you sign that order giving them the CO, you're supposed to be able to provide services to them. Can you justify in your mind letting someone move into a home that you know you can't provide fire protection to? You know, I called, I didn't finish the program on that. Our annual budget is $2 million. That does not include the payment for the fire station. That is just salaries and equipment, necessary repairs. And that, like I said, that budget is $2 million there just to provide that. And that's a small amount of service. JFRD response to one single storage structure per Chief Powers, JFRD, is 14 pieces of equipment, 24 personnel. That's a significant number greater than what we have. When you talk about the density they're talking about here, and it sounds good, you might have a nice backyard, but when you've got homes 55 feet apart, and that's the distance of the lot, your setbacks currently are 20 feet, I believe 10 feet on each side. Is not, am I correct in saying that they have asked for a reduction in setbacks?
Yes.
So your homes, your eaves are going to be about 10 feet apart. If you've got a structure fire that's going through the roof, they're not coming to fight one fire. They're coming to fight 2 or 3 at one time with 6 firefighters. And JFRD did add also, if the structure is a 2-story or multiple family, such as duplex or townhomes, that personnel number goes up greater than 24. Your wastewater treatment plant is permitted for 1.3 million gallons of discharge per day. Current average is 600,000 gallons per day. Significant rain impact results in 2 million gallons per day. Y'all know that. We fight it every time it rains. I applaud you once again. You're continuing on the project that started while I was still there, reworking the infrastructure, but it has not yielded the results we hoped. As a matter of fact, Mike and I talked this week, the wastewater gets there faster than it can because of the new lines. An analysis has already been concluded that the remaining capacity available at the treatment plant would be exhausted if all available properties in the city required service. Is that correct?
Close to it.
If the current availability capacity were allocated to the current proposed development, it would not be enough to satisfy their needs as well as eliminate any available services for the existing properties already in the city limits. And I don't mean this disrespectful to this family. I'm talking about the Nab family and they've been providers for this community, very generous to the recreation component of that family, and what they've done, I applaud them. They've always been givers. However, not one dime of taxes has ever been generated to the city off of this property that you're talking about giving your resources to. And that's what they're talking about. They want to take your existing resources they have not paid for. And if they do that and you allocate that, the people that own property already in the city, what are you going to tell them when there's no capacity treatment plant? Your worst system, I didn't bring any numbers on that, but you know yourself. We added Northeast Star State Hospital, we added wells, and what St. John's and their infant wells will do, reduce your cut. You know, I'm just saying we're a small community and begging for those things from those agencies. They don't hear you, and you know it, and I know it. And I know they talked about the use of gray water. My understanding is a plan for it to be used by the housing development. I applaud them. That's good function. But with that function, it would still require the treatment plant to have the capability to discharge wastewater if there's no need for the gray water in the development. If it rains, I've got summers that I didn't turn my irrigation system on. It rains every third day. You don't run your sprinklers. So you've got a place, even though if it's dry times, it sounds good. They're going to use that gray water, a large portion of it. But if they don't, you still have to treat that and you have to dispose of it. So sprinklers aren't running, it's not being used. Keep that in mind. We live in Florida, it rains. I know there's been a proposal talked about for a 3 million gallon storage tank. It costs us $15 million, I think you said, is what the estimate on that. Who's going to pay for that? You know, and there again, you have, 4 or 5 operators, all you have down at the treatment plant. And you're talking about this additional component coming in there. I don't know what the discharge rates, I hope you'll do a survey on this and study to determine the true impact. My understanding as well, the DEP says there'll be no additional discharge in Turkey Creek now, so you can't increase what you've already got. You got a limited resource. And I'm not sure the date, I've heard 2 different dates that they told the city to be out of Turkey Creek, either 2032 or 2035.
They relax that now because of the rural city, but still, you gotta get out of it.
You gotta get out of it, it's coming. So if you don't have any additional land application sites, you know what's next? Deep well injection. Is that what we want in our community? They're going to know, they tell you it'll be below the act, but won't have any effect on that. They don't know. This hasn't been around for 50 years. They don't know what the results of that. And I won't live to see it, but my kids and my grandchildren probably will. And I hate to fall into an environmentally challenged community. Right, schools. Talked a little bit wide on this. Got some of these numbers. These are strictly averages, so don't write them down as if it's the exact cost. Do your own, encourage you to do your own research. 2,500 homes, and the industry standard seems to be the best we can find is 1.75 students per home. That equates to 4,375 new students. Elementary schools here are about 800 capacity. Cost to replicate that is $50 million. Building costs $50 million for an 800 student station. Middle school's 1,100 capacity, $65 million for the building costs. High school, 1,300 capacity, $80 million building costs. I heard a site being mentioned, but I didn't hear anything about any buildings being mentioned. So to satisfy the needs of students, you require 1 elementary school, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school with a cost of $260 million. It's estimated that 60% of the students will utilize bus transportation. That equates to 2,625 students. Divide that by 72 students per bus is 36 buses. 36 buses at $60,000 is $2.16 million. Who pays for that? The need's there. You know, when they start houses, the need's there. They can't get additional funding until that seat in that classroom is filled. So you don't look for the government coming, the state to come in and bail you out on this. You're going to have to deal with the results of the way before there's any funding can come in. You got existing school shortages now, teacher shortages, substitute shortages. bus driver shortage, you have administrators, teachers, all doing the driving. It's scary. Even the mechanics drive the school buses now because there's such a shortfall in staffing. New school site fundings can only be requested every 3 years. And that's after the 2 year that it takes to build the schools, and because it comes in 2 different portions and 2 different budgets to get that. So that means if it's approved, you got a 5-year wait, and there's no guarantee you're going to get funding on. I won't quit there. You've got enough information on there, but what I can say is this. I challenge you, do what's best for our community. This is larger than the city, it's larger, it's the county as well, but you are elected, those of you that are appointed, your responsibility is to city taxpayers when it comes to allocating resources. This property's never generated a dime towards city. I don't mean that hurtful, but it's just fact to consider. They haven't paid for these resources that you, current taxpayers and previous taxpayers, have built, so that you've got I didn't know the budget's 25 million, but whatever you got there, none of that has been provided. You're talking about giving that away for this development to come in, and you're talking about a change in lifestyle for our community. If I wanted to live in Orange Park, I'd move to Orange Park. I'm just saying, I don't mean that to be hurtful. I know this family needs to sell some property. There's a large number of people that depend on the revenue, this land development they've got going. But I'm not ready to sacrifice my lifestyle and my grandkids' lifestyle over yours. And that's what you're talking about doing, to let this come in as it is. Now, I've heard good things about these developers. All I'm saying to turn this down. I'm saying let's have future workshops. I would recommend that you get your own auditors to go through, reviewers to come through. They've done, I'm sure they've got research been done on this to support everything they've done. They hired someone from their point of view to make a presentation that would be palatable to you. I'm saying do your own research, get your own numbers. Don't trust my numbers. Do your own numbers in this. But once again, are you ready to change the lifestyle in this community forever? Because that's what happens on this. Look at reducing the density. And I know that's not popular to the developer, but what's wrong with half-acre sites? What's almost wrong with some 1 acre sites? Some 2.5 acres, some 5 acre. When I was still there, we turned down development by this same family coming in that wanted 40-foot wide lots. Is that who we want to be? I'm going to get off my soapbox. I appreciate you once again for doing this in an open format. And I appreciate the developers and the NAB family for coming here and laying it out and coming to see some opportunity. And if it goes through as it is, I'll still be supporting it regardless. It won't be what I want, but it's still part of our community. But I encourage you to work with the county commission. I appreciate Commissioner Bennett. I didn't see the other county commissioners come in. This is larger than just this board, without a doubt. But you got to segregate your current resources, where you allocate those, and then where we go forward in the future with the county. But I appreciate your time and opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Just one thing. I know we're talking about our total budget is 25 million. I just want to clear that up. We get about 1.5 million from ad valorem taxes. So that 25 million is not what we're charging the citizens of Macclenny. So I just wanted to clear that up. A lot of that other is water and sewage, what grants we get, and stuff that we get from the state, sales tax share. But anyway, we only get about 1.5 million. So I just want to clear that up.
and we have our chief financial officer here as well. The grants that we get is largely from the state and federal grants have to be accounted for in the budget. You can't just say, well, those are over there, we don't count those. They have to go on the ledger. So, and we've been very blessed that a lot of that 25 million is in fact grants. Mr. Randall Hodges.
Thank you all for having me. I guess my question is kind of directed towards the developer. Is the recreational park side. I'm very involved in youth sports here in the county and the city. And, just what does that entail? I've just seen my field up there. And that's what I'm looking at.
Answer these, okay. Yeah, this, excuse me, my phone was talking to me. I apologize, too much technology. Yeah, this is meant to be a regional park, so active ball fields, all those things, those youth athletic associations that, those are hard to come by. And so the idea is that this facility will both provide the land and develop a regional park, both for the residents that are gonna be there and of course for all the residents.
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are the only two folks that actually signed up. Is there anyone else that has something they'd like to share or ask? By all means.
I do.
Yes, maybe you'll be next. And if you would, sir, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joel Morganwag, 543 Lulu Road, Olustee. I just want to ask if we know who's going to be living in these new homes. Where are these people coming from? Are they coming from the city of Macclenny? Are they coming from elsewhere? We don't know.
It could be anywhere. Yeah, it really could. Florida's, if, and again, I want to reiterate, no decision's being made tonight and nothing has been approved or disapproved, but when Florida is one of the most rapidly growing states.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, but would they be coming from Macclenny? I would say maybe a small portion moving from a home in Macclenny to another home if it were annexed in and that occurred, but the current populace wouldn't support, populate that many more homes of just existing folks in Macclenny.
Right. It's kind of just adding what the first gentleman was speaking about, it pretty much changing the area. And there's no going back after that. So just wanted to drive home that point again, that we don't know who's going to be living there and who knows if they're going to assimilate, and we don't know if things will change. I would assume they would if they're not living here currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Just your name and address for the record.
I'm Karen Rambo, and I'm a 3 Christian Park Planning. I've been married my husband for coming up on 39 years. He grew up in Tomball, Texas, which is a very small town northwest of Houston. In 39 years, we have watched a very small, pleasant, charming little town with Bradigan's grocery store where you could go in and smell leather, because these are ranchers and they do leather. We've watched it become a suburb of Houston. And the things that I remember seeing, Jackrabbit Road, which was a 2-lane road that led from Tomball to Houston, it is now a 4-lane road with stores and apartment buildings and more red lights. I mean, it takes us 3 hours to get from Tomball back to I-10 because the road is just so congested. And he's sad about it. I'm sad about it. I did not grow up there. But I hear the stories of how it used to be, and when we go out, I see how it is now. And it is not a charming small town. It is a suburb of Houston, and it's just a very tragic loss. And I would hate to see that happen here. I do not want to be Jacksonville. I don't want to be Orange Park. I don't want to be Oakleaf. I sure don't want to be Oakleaf. Every time we go to Oakleaf, I feel sorry for those people. All that money. And what do they have? They have stores, but they have absolutely no privacy. So it's just something to bear out, the pros and the cons of progress.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Staff have anything?
I don't think so. They get us a workshop, we're here to listen, so.
Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor, I just got, while we got a crowd here, on, what I said about our budget, we collect about 1.5 million in ad valorem taxes. Our fire department in the city of Macclenny, and fire department in the city of Macclenny cost us about 2.2 million. So we take money out of water and sewage
Right.
to pay for our fire department. So whenever we see these numbers, we kind of have to put everything in perspective here. So I just wanted to share that.
There's some.
Yes, sir. By all means, just state your name and address. Thank you.
My name's Robert Welsh. I'm at 9856 Barber Loop, Macclenny. Your 100-foot buffer zone is actually right behind my house where the existing power line is. Is that power line you're going to use as the 100-foot buffer zone between our houses and the 2,500 houses?
It'll be outside, in other words, we're not including the power
There'll be a wooded area. That's the question.
Okay. For those of you who couldn't hear, he was asking about if the buffer were to come to pass, would it include the pretty good sized section where there's a large high-yield power line? And the answer was no, it would not, correct? Okay. I don't think folks could hear. Anyone else? By all means, please. Good evening, sir. Your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mark Bird, 3665 P. Johnson Road. My family and I moved down here this year. Retired vet from Alaska, then upper Michigan. UP, we like the country, we like the quietness. One reason why we chose Macclenny. We work in Jacksonville. We see Jacksonville every day. We don't want to live in Jacksonville. Part of the road that goes right by from Walmart goes right by that small little community down in Barber and B. Johnson Road. Is there a reason why that throughway goes that way, but not maybe 5 miles farther east on I-10? And then it goes across the property that way. Why does it have to go all the way to that equity? And then secondly, what was the process? This is step one, as you said, sir. What are the next steps? What does the timeline look like? When will other processes and steps and decisions be made? For the rest of our awareness, what do we look like? Is it 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now? Can you explain to us the next step and what the rest of the process looks like for a project like this?
Probably the next step would be to come back before a city commission meeting and a regular city commission meeting, and then the city commission would decide how they want to proceed, is what I look for.
And and of course, I want you to share what you want to share as well, but before we move past that, remember, that meeting and all city commission meetings are open to the public. That meeting, I'll say it again, every second Tuesday of the month is open to the public. It's at 6 o'clock at City Hall, and you are always welcome. In fact, we often don't get folks turn out on things that may impact them or affect them, and then after the fact, they're concerned or upset. So don't be shy, all right? This will be easier for you as well.
And the press is here, so they will certainly keep public notified as well as meetings come up.
Did you want to say, in terms of in your court, what would be next?
Yes, it's a long process. Should the commission want to move forward and continue the process, the first thing that's done is, one, they would have to take a vote and say, yes, we want to go to the next step. Doesn't mean they're going to approve it. Just means the next step. What is the next step? It's a pre-annexation agreement about those things that we're talking about. So, and after there's a pre-annexation agreement, then there is a comprehensive plan amendment, usually takes 6 to 9 months. There's multiple public hearings required by law. And then there's a zoning, again, multiple public hearings. So the reality is it's a 9 to 12 month process with, I would say, a minimum of 6 or 8 formal public hearings to complete this process. From there, then there's all kinds of environmental permitting and engineering and all kinds of things that happen after that. if you're breaking ground in 24 months, that might be a record. So this is a long process, and there's lots of public input and lots of opportunity for public input. So that's the process, should you choose to want to move forward. I did, if you'd indulge me, I did want to just, the gentleman talked about the utilities. I didn't touch on that, and I did want to provide some clarification if that's okay. Yes, this project is proposing to, build a reuse, distribution system for all of the 2,500 residential units. It takes about 3 residential homes of wastewater to generate enough irrigation water to irrigate one house. So this is from a utility engineer, which I am. It's kind of the perfect storm. You've got all the existing residents generating wastewater being treated and then put in the Turkey Creek. That can be beneficial reuse, and it's about the right mix of demand. Usually there's actually a shortage. We don't generate enough. One-on-one doesn't do it. One house doesn't generate enough. We use about 300 gallons a day per house in reuse. And we now, with a new sewer system, we generate about 160 gallons per day per house, so it's about half. But you will, with or without this project, you will have to solve the discharge to Turkey Creek. Because Senate Bill 64 says it's a mandate. You've got a temporary exemption. You probably can kick the can down the road for a while, but ultimately you're gonna have to find a reuse disposal, whether it's built by this developer or whether it's built by the county or the city, or you will have to solve that problem. The second issue is, there was talk about you're consuming the capacity of the existing plant. The plant now is operating at roughly 50% capacity. The wet weather infiltration certainly has to be fixed. With or without this, it has to be fixed. So, but the reality is, every connection pays. So all you're really doing is collecting money on an asset that's sitting there unused and has been for quite some time. And that money that's collected, since the capacity's already there and already been paid for, can be saved when the plant needs to be for future growth, either inside the city or outside the city. So, utilities pay for themselves. The owner of the utility, whether it be an investor or a city, they don't pay for anything. The customer pays for everything. In this case, we'll pay water connection fees, sewer connection fees, and reuse connection fees. And those reuse connection fees are what pays that $15 million of converting the plant to a reuse facility. So I just wanted to add some clarity for those utility issues.
Question
Mr. Mayor.
Road, can you answer that? About the bypass?
Yeah, I didn't, obviously you.
Just right by, I know, a small little community,
can-
Johnson Barber Road.
It wasn't really clear what you were asking. The connection has to be at the signal,
It has to be what?
has to be at the signal opposite. It's a limited access road, at the interchange,
It's
which,
a single road, right? And you can move somewhere else, right next to the community.
because it has to line with the signal. And quite frankly, the county has already acquired the right of way for that alignment, but from a transportation operational perspective, it has to align with that signal. That's will be a DOT requirement, it'll be a county requirement. There's really not a reasonable engineering alternative.
Can I approach and ask one more question?
Sure.
Please forgive me, I've had a long day, I'm trying to stay sharp, but the purpose of the subdivision is to pay for the new road, correct?
The purpose of the subdivision is obviously to have certainty on what is that piece of property is gonna be used for and have a mixed-use master plan community. The financial reality of the master plan community is the revenues that will build the road will be provided by the residential component.
So the purpose of the subdivision is that we know what's gonna go with the subdivision, not something else. at a later
It's
time.
just to have a true mixed-use community of live, work, play, jobs, services, professional services, shopping opportunities, and residential, schools located in the community, park located in the community. It's a full, live, work, play community. That's what master plan communities strive to do.
I'm sorry, I'm confused, because I thought you said that it was gonna pay for the new flyover to the
We'll
district.
pay for the flyover, we'll pay for about 2 miles, $25 million 4-lane road to the flyover. The DOT is still, would have to pay, or someone else would have to pay for the flyover.
Right.
The flyover's not an integral part of, is not needed for this project. It is needed to get the trucks out of downtown.
It's just, it's a little bit confusing, because the city said 6,500 new homes, correct? Is that right?
25.
2,500, so that's 2,500 families there? Sure. Give or take, and then, so the school site would be for that area?
No, the school board decides how to zone the schools, where people live, where they go. That'll be
The
decided.
school site is not gonna be in that area,
School site is proposed to be
so
on the site.
most likely the closest residents will use that school.
You assume so, it's not up to the developer.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you for answering, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ladies first.
My name's Dawn Conklin, 4391 Wolf Drive, which is right off of Fifth Street. I just want clarification for one of the questions. We were late by about 5 minutes. We went to the wrong meeting. Right there at Walmart on Fifth. Right now, we live our street is about half a mile, less than a mile from that light. In the morning, traffic times, I have sat there for 5 minutes just trying to cross the street to get out of our little subdivision of about 20, 30 homes. So by the proposal, you're talking about making that 4-lane with only one light down, one up from the Walmart. And that's gonna carry all that traffic from any commercial, grocery store, Wawa, and everything is gonna be at that one light at Walmart, and they're gonna create another one further back into the residential area. That's the part I'm not really clear about. So you're saying all that commercial, all that industrial, all that residential, it's gonna have one light? That's the only, because that would affect me at that point. I don't like that. I don't understand like that. Why don't they take it to the other side where there's nothing there? That's what we thought, or at least when we moved out here from Callahan, because we were trying to move from the same thing that you're trying to put right in my back door again. And that's kind of heartbreaking. But I would like that clarified is why not take it to the other side where there's nothing there now, instead of plopping it in the middle where it's already very congested? Okay.
Yeah. It's one thing, while in just a second, and this gentleman can, actually, everyone here can confirm this. Department of Transportation makes a lot of these calls. And I'm not a traffic engineer, unless somebody's taken a really aggressive annex course in the last few weeks that I don't know about, neither are any of these ladies and gentlemen. But they look at that kind of thing in traffic and stuff, and they have some pretty strict requirements on what will and will not pass and how those things go. I don't know if you've talked, if in your planning, if you looked at any of that, or if you could address any of that at all?
Yes, I mean, we have looked at that. We know that the Fifth Street's gonna have to be improved from the intersection, where the bypass connects, to the interchange. It's gonna have to be 4 lanes. Very well, a piece of it, that could have double lefts coming out and double left for certain lanes. They'll all be controlled by DOT, to your point. They have, we will do an extensive traffic study, for this piece. It's required by DOT anytime we apply in any intersection on the DOT facility. It goes through, an extensive review process, including they have what they call an ICE process. We sometimes call it the frozen process, because it takes so long. But every issue is looked at, every alternative is looked at. So that'll be all part of the process, but that will be controlled by DOT. It won't be controlled by the developer. They'll certainly take input from the city. At the end of the day, that will be a Department of Transportation decision. We also, just to be clear, you have a concurrency ordinance that addresses capacity of transportation, and, water, sewer, police, and what we call the 7 sins of concurrency. And so we have to demonstrate capacity to serve. We pay impact fees as well to mitigate any impacts that we have, including school impact fees. So that's all part of the process. Doesn't happen quickly. The first step is, do you want to go to the second step? That's really the answer. We're not here to approve anything tonight. We're really just trying to decide, do we want to keep talking about it?
Sir, thank you for your patience. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Scott Cassidy, 746 North Lava Street. I heard you say that it's gonna be an HOA and $35 a year. Is that in the deed, or are they gated communities? Are the regular people gonna be not allowed to go to the commercial areas?
No, first of all, the HOA is a requirement, if nothing else, by the Water Management District, because it manages, it has to have a financially feasible management system to run the stormwater management facility. The agri-hood is $35 a month, not a year. It's not intended to be a gated community. It'll be open to anybody. So no different than all the rest of the residential areas in the city.
I don't think the county or the city can afford something like this, and I disagree with it because of our school systems, our fire and police, prisons. We do need commercial, absolutely. Maybe even legalize alcohol on Sundays, you might get more business. But I just don't see this being a benefit to the county or the city, I really don't. But that's just my personal preference, and I understand this is a first step, but it needs to be digested real hard to figure out all the ins and outs of it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I like that word, digested. And I can't speak for staff, and I cannot speak for the other commissioners, but I can tell you, and I'm just going to speak very plainly and flatly, what I've heard is pie in the sky and doom and gloom. I don't know enough yet. I don't know enough. At this point, I've got a lot. I've got a couple pages of notes already that are things that I need to know more about, and I need to find out about. So again, I know we said it, we want to say it before, we want to say it again, there's no decision that's going to be made tonight. This is a workshop, a public workshop. The presentation that you saw for the first time tonight, I saw for the first time tonight. This body has not seen this presentation before tonight. All right? We're hearing it at the same time you are, and that is by design and by intention, because we wanted you in on it on step one, which means will there even be a step two? Okay, so we want to be very transparent about that. I heard, and I understand sometimes when you've got citizenry, you've got the constituents, and you've got government. We're small government, but we're still government. It's kind of like wearing a number on your back. You know, the idea is you guys are trying to do X. We're not trying to do anything yet, and maybe not. We don't know yet. You tell me if you guys have already have a good firm grasp on all this. I do not. I've got a lot more questions that I have answers on both sides. So, anyone else? Judge?
Mr. Mayor, Commission, my name for the record is Joey Williams. I'm a local attorney at 445 East Midpoint Avenue. And in complete disclosure, I represent the developers. So I'm sort of their mouthpiece at times, and I want to say on their behalf that they appreciate your presence. And they really do have a sense of what you're talking about when you see your community being affected by this scale of development. Because they're people, they've lived a good long life, they've seen their hometowns change and evolve. I've lived here all my life. This patch of woods, and there's some buddies even here with me, we used to play in those woods, and if you found somebody that had a motorcycle at work, we'd ride around in there and Rufus Sharp would chase us out. And when I come into Macclenny from Jacksonville I-10, I take that exit. The people that just got here, you don't see what it used to be. You're here because somebody planted property and provided a place for you to have a home.
I grew up in a small town too, sir.
Sure, I'm sure.
They're all getting bigger.
Just one point, sir.
They're all
I
getting
moved here 5 years ago from South Jersey, grew up in a small town, totally changed, that's why we came here, and now it's happening here. And I'm sorry, I live in Olustee, I don't live in the city, but next it'll be Sanderson, then it'll be Taylor, then it'll be Olustee, until it all meets with Lake City, and it's done. That's all I'm saying.
And I think you got great points. And I think that the people in that family, they understand that. But what we're trying to juggle, and the developers are very sensitive to it, we want to preserve the sense of rural community, the life in a small town that's close-knit. It is a very daunting challenge, whether you're in Macclenny, Florida, Callahan, Lake Butler, or Star. These are tough things to accomplish. And all I'm telling you is that the developers are not deaf to your voice. They want to hear it, but they would ask that please participate in good faith. Just don't write it off because we're against development, period. Because it's not in my backyard. That's never worked, and it's probably not in the best interest of all of us. So we're here, the developers, collaboratively, open, saying, hey, bring these issues forward. And many of you have the desire to be here in your time, and you've made comments that are on the record, and they're noted. And I just ask that the city likewise take note. And we've got a long bullet point list, don't we? Some to-do lists, some work to do. And we owe the community some answers to those questions. And I believe the developers and the professionals that you retain are going to be able to provide reasonable responses that you can evaluate, and ultimately the commission will decide. We're just asking for a fair hearing as we develop this in a further dialogue to find out what we believe is genuinely best for our community. And we thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to have the floor.
No.
All right.
I don't need a mic, I'm loud. I just want to point out, I've been doing this stuff for about 45 years. Hallelujah, I'm about to retire. Hugh, I don't have it all in this time.
You are loud, but
They can't hear it?
well, it's being recorded, so we do need you to use the mic if you would, sir.
The city has a job, the developer has a job. You as the public need to know what the heck are they doing. The one thing you cannot change is that change is coming. It's coming. You can watch the flow of people out of Jackson down through St. Johns County. You can watch the flow of people up through Nassau County. Go from Callahan into Ferndale and see how much it's changed. We're just a few steps away. So what is important is that we get developers, and I've worked off and on with ETM for years. They're good people. City council is good people. What we need though is planned developments. That's right. Not haphazard. He's got 20 acres, he wants to put in 20 half-acre lots. He's got 30 acres, let's stick something over here. A hodgepodge of developments never gets finished as far as what needs to be done. A mixed-use development like Mr. Schultz over here is trying to do takes into account what's got to be done. What's happened here today, they've invited the developer and the city has to buy the public out to kind of tell them, what is it that we envision? That's what we're here for. Like Phil Roden, I don't know where he is, but Phil did a very good job of pointing out a lot of the things that's in this process. It's got to be considered, it's got to be answered, there has to be remedies for as much of that as they can come up with. So all I'm asking the public to do, don't take pot shots at the city council, because they got a job to do. They are required by law to listen to the developer. That's required. The developer's job, of course, is to make money for his company by doing a good job at a development. All right? Take it easy on them all. They've got a job to do both ways. The best way to develop something in this county is a planned unit process. Plan all of it. That's what it's talking about. We're planning for housing, we're planning for industrial, we're planning right-of-ways, we're planning schools, we're planning recreation. The development, forget Mr. Hodges, I think, asked the question. The development he's talking about has a recreational component. He has to meet it. That's just in the rule. What you get put there, is it Little League Baseball, is it volleyball, is it soccer? That comes in the planning process that they're going to be right and heard of. Everything is public. But I can tell you from my own viewpoint, I have been to a lot of city council meetings where there was nobody there. You want to be involved, you want your voice heard, go to the public meetings. Just like here, they will be happy to let you speak. But a planned unit process, which the developer and the city are going to go through, is the absolute best way to do development in this county. Thank y'all.
Mr. Phil.
Little of what I got to say is along what you said. You aren't defending yourself tonight. You know what's hanging over your head. If you say no to this, the water and sewer, they're going to the county. You know, Avery Roberts has already offered to bring water and sewer to this site. So I'm challenging Commissioner Bennett, County Commissioner Bennett, to put this on the agenda so that they can hear the same proposals being brought out. And let's hear from our county commissioners, because this is it's larger, as I said, than the city of Macclenny. And so these gentlemen here are trying to work to the best of their ability with essentially an axe hanging over their head. I know they don't intend that way, but that is the result. Am I incorrect? If the city turns it down, is this development plan to reach out to Mr. Roberts to access utilities?
Yes, that's actually the way it started. And Mr. Roberts said that if the county, if the city wanted to serve, he would not serve. And the city said, we'd like to consider it. That's why we're here.
And like I said, I appreciate once again coming and bringing it forward. But we've got to be unified in this. There needs to be unified zoning set out for the LDRs. Let's design something with the developer that we can all live with. I know that they've got a margin of profit, Maybe you take a little bit less. Maybe the property owners take a little bit less so that we can do some of these enhancements. We can reduce the densities. But once again, I know Commissioner Bennett, there's probably nobody with generations go back longer than his family does. He knows what this, he's a good man, his dad's a good man, and this family has provided here for this community. Where are the other board members? This has been advertised. Where are they? I don't know. I know some may be out of town, but this has been on the agenda, on the calendar for quite some time. We need a joint meeting of the city and the county. We need a committee made up of residents, and let's all work this together with the developers. HOAs don't work. We know they don't work. They have you ever seen one? I know as a commissioner when I was there and as city manager, we're constantly having to try and quell the complaints that are going on because HOAs don't function long term. It'll be good while the developer still owns them. 51%, it turns over to the HOA. What enforcement you got? You tell them to park on one side of the street, and they don't do it. What do you do? You come and complain to your commissioner, to the mayor, to the city manager, to the county commissioner. I'm just saying, people understand this is a multifaceted project, and it needs to be handled with all of our government in unison on this. Let's decide what the future is. This is your timeline. You have no obligation to this developer. And I'm not trying to bash him, but you are elected to serve us. That should be your responsibility, the current taxpayers that are here. Not to him to make a profit or them to make a profit. But we know growth's coming. You said it right. Let's work together, build something that we can all be proud of. It doesn't change our heritage. This is going to be marketed in Jacksonville, and they're going to say, come to Macclenny. The schools aren't overcrowded. They will be when you got 4,300 more students here. You can't build the schools fast enough to respond to this. 20-year build out sounds good. 125 homes per year for 20 years. You got your 2,500. Go down Brandon Field Road. Look there, 5 years ago, what was there? Nothing but woods. You cannot squeeze another house in there. This build out is not going to go because people are looking for what we've got, but when they get here, they're going to find out they don't have it anymore because we let it go away and became so dense that it's now the crime is there, school overcrowding. You don't know the people, you go sit. When I became city commissioner in 2005, my first prayer was, don't let me be the guy that designed Wells Road and Blanding Boulevard. And that's what you're looking at. So stick to your guns, Commissioner Bennett. I ask you, would you put this on the agenda?
Commissioner Bennett, while you're making the trip up here, we do appreciate and acknowledge your presence, and we're glad to see you here. We're glad you're here.
Good afternoon, thanks again for having the public meeting. I appreciate the turnout.
I think the mic might have been turned off.
Or you just have
Phil, you broke it.
talk real close to it, I guess.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's on now.
That's right. Again, Jason, and Board of County Commissioners, but I'm not here to represent the commissioners tonight. You're right, we were all made fully aware of the meeting tonight. And I did choose to be here because I've been working towards the overall project of Midpoint Parkway for many years, and we'll continue to pursue that. This is a great project. I really appreciate the opportunity for everybody to come out and participate. But as has been said already, and Mr. Fish, I appreciate your comments because you're absolutely correct in that involvement from the community is absolutely essential to create something that works for everybody. It can work for the developer, it can work for the city, it can work for the community, and it can be a real positive. I like the point that you made that we often see these communities, 20 acres and 30 acre sites, and they don't generate this level of involvement. They don't generate the people that come out and raise concern against them. But at the end of the day, when you start doing all these little small ones that didn't have any overall review, overall programs, you still end up with development. You just don't have it planned. You don't have it long term. You don't end up with the recreational. You don't end up with the other components. You don't end up with the neighborhood systems in place that support it because they're always small ones. when you do a master plan development, you have the opportunity with community input to guide it, to create something that works for the entire community. And I think that's really the objective here. I've been having communications and discussions about Midpoint Parkway for well over, since before I left the Department of Transportation, which I've been going 10.5 years. And I'm still convinced that Midpoint Parkway is going to be completed. There are steps along the way. Having something here and a portion of the road built would certainly give a lot more leverage to getting that last section completed to make the connection over at US 9. I had had conversations, regardless of this meeting tonight, with the Department of Transportation within the last week in regards to the funding for that. In addition, there was comments and discussions mentioned about this area 228 5th Street, between the interstate and up to the location where it's being proposed, the connection at the city. There's already a signal there at Walmart. That's where the connection's gonna be. I mean, we can discuss and debate, should be moved, but I just tell you the reality is that's where it's gonna be. To encourage us to figure out how to make it work the best. What I am also aware of is that State Road 228 is a Department of Transportation, Florida DOT roadway, and they are currently planning to do a review and study of that area to see what may be needed long-term on State Road 228. It is a state road. I also go back to think, and actually to take a look back, it was probably 12, 14 years ago, we worked with the city, I was at DOT then, we worked with the city to create setbacks along State Road 228, along this corridor, from Louder Street back out to the interstate. And we had in place setbacks that allow for development to occur on 228 while preserving the ability for that road to be improved in the future. That is something that is in the city plans, and I'm pretty sure that when the new medical
urgent care, when it came in as the first commercial, with the enterprise corridor.
it followed those setback requirements that have been established. So there has always been a recognition that State Road 228 will need some improvements at some point. As development comes, that's when it's time for the Department of Transportation to take a closer look at what is coming, what needs to be done long-term, and they're getting ready to do that as well with the study that is being advertised or selected and consulted on. So that will be forthcoming as well. With respect to bringing this before the county commission, that's what Jill asked to start with. There's a process that needs to go through. And the first step is the decision needs to be made, is this going to be a city project or a county project? However, there will be communication and meetings together, I'm confident, along the way. But somebody has to be the lead. Somebody has to be the lead. You can't have everybody having the same role. Somebody has to lead. And which entity is going to lead that is really the question. First and foremost, they must have utilities. They had a plan, an option to not come to the city, but to create utilities. And when they come to the city to talk about that, because the city has the first right. When they come to the city, that's when the questions come out, well, should the city lead this? Should the city be in the lead? And I commend you folks for doing that, taking a look at it to see what's best for the city. At the same time, you look at what's best for everybody as well, the entire community. So while I do agree that at some time it would be appropriate for the county to be involved, because the county will ultimately have some impacts as well. We'll have impacts on the sheriff's office. I see under sheriff's here. We will definitely have impacts on the sheriffs, but also have impacts to our entire community as well. And we need to be involved along the way. But the first step is to see what is the interest. And I think the city needs to make decisions whether you want to be in the lead role and communicate. There's nothing that says you can't change your mind down the road, but somebody has to be in the lead. So until we have that, that's where I would encourage to have conversations at the county so everybody is aware of what's going on. But somebody has to make a decision on whether you're the lead or we're the lead before we start trying to make two different local governments bantering this back and forth. And so that would be my suggestion. Not opposed to having a discussion at our commission meeting. I just don't want to be the ones trying to lead something when it's really a city, at this point, since the state stands to make a decision. Okay?
Thank you. And then just to clarify a little bit, Mr. Mayor, so how the city got involved for annexation is that the developer is wanting water and sewer from the city. And our code, got the ordinance here, our code, calls for if an entity wants water and sewer from the city and they are contiguous to the city, then they have to annex in. So that's why we're all here today, is even starting with the conversation about annexation, because if they want water and sewer from the city, they gotta annex into the city. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to clarify what Commissioner didn't say in there. If you're in the city, you pay 3.6 mills taxes, but you also pay that 2 mills in county taxes. So the county is just as responsible to me as they are to you. It's not either or when it comes to the county, but the city it is. You have an obligation to your city taxpayers that pays those 3.6 mills. But the county has an obligation for everybody that lives in this community. And I think to have a unified discussion on zoning and zoning requirements and minimum lot size, you're gonna be constantly, you're gonna be torn against each other and working against each other. Somebody's gonna do, and I'm saying this developer will do that, but they can leverage you one against the other. That shouldn't be that, and that's what I'm saying. Before the contract is signed on this, and they spend millions of dollars to do site plan, public development on that, let's get together and decide as a community, which is the city and the county, it's Sanderson, as the gentleman said, it's Taylor, it's Margarita. It's all one community. Let's work together to build something we can all live together, not one working against the other or allowing them to use our own differences against us all. So I'll leave it and I'll say these. I trust every one of you. I serve with every one of you on that board. The city manager, I work together for a blessed amount of time. I don't know what I've done without you. I know you. I challenge you to be as educated on this, get as much information you can, pray over it, get a piece about it, and move forward. Thank you.
Well, we have to start somewhere. So I think if everything was, if the process were different, I think one side would say, absolutely not, no, definitely not. And if the other side had their way, it'd be absolutely, we're going to do this just as it's ticked down. Since we have to start somewhere, and again, I'm just one person. Sometimes there's this fallacy. People think that the mayor, that you hold some type of special executive power. You don't. I have one vote, just like the rest of the commission. In fact, I can't make a motion or second it. I can only chair the meeting. So, but I can tell you that, I can't speak for them, but I can tell you that I've got 4 things. And by no means is this list exhaustive. I'm sure that this list is going to grow, but I got 4 things right out of the gate that are untenable for me. We cannot, not that we won't, we can't. Not that we won't, but we can't play financial catch up. We can't try to front for the money for police, fire, water, sewer, schools, all that on the front end when those taxpayers and those taxes haven't manifested yet. We can't. It's fiscally impossible. Can't be done. I would not be in favor unless the agreement would be that they would take 100% of the wastewater all the time, regardless of need. I know that there's dry times and there's wet times, but the whole idea is to get out of Turkey Creek and to get out of that stuff. For me, and I'm just one person, but I would want them to take 100% of the wastewater all the time. The one point of ingress and egress is unacceptable. I don't see how that could possibly work. If you put 100 people over there and you only had one road in and one road out, I don't see how it could work. And we're not talking about 100 people or 200 people or 300 people. I just don't see how it could work. And finally, 55-foot lots does not work for me. So that's where I am. I'm not, again, like Phil, I'm not against it. I'm against it without some provisions and without some changes and without some extra measures and without some extra assurances.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
One thing, and I'm certainly not speaking for the county commission in no way, shape, or form, but Phil, if I understood Phil correctly, if we turn it down, then they do have another option. That would be to go to the county and with the same parameters, or somewhat the same parameters. So I just want the public to know that they're, that we are the first bite of the apple, And that, and I certainly agree with pretty much everything that the mayor just said. That, we've helped on a lot of stuff before. And I do, the plat, I hadn't even seen a plat, so I don't really know exactly. That hasn't been platted yet, so, okay. I know that I hadn't seen a plat, so that's, and I was really kind of concerned about the 30-foot in the parallel parking on both sides. I didn't know exactly how that was, should you have parallel parking on both sides or, what, but anyway, I did have some concerns too there.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that, like we've heard tonight, is just a hearing of the developers to present what he has, what they've worked on, what they come to present to us tonight. Is we're not voting on anything tonight, and we hope that you all will understand that they've gone through great measures to get where they are today with the plans, and to come here and present it to each one of us tonight, to at least listen to them. And we know where we are. We're not going to be on one accord with anything. I doubt anymore. It's going to be here or there. And what we need to do is have the developers, once they hear from the county commission, to get together, and the things that Mr. Roden brought to us, that we can iron some of those things out. But hearing what he had, Mr. Roden, he knows what he's talking about. He's been in this job. He's been in this county, and he knows what's going to happen if we just fall into something by one of us saying yes or no. But we don't want to do that. We're going to get together between the county and the city and the developers. And you've heard what we got, and we know what we need to do moving forward from this point on. And hopefully with the developers, the city and the county, we can come to terms with what the mayor just told you and get some things done, not just make a rash decision on anything, because it is our job to make sure you get what you want as the citizens of Macclenny. So that's where we are. And we want to thank you for coming out. And that's all I have now, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? If there's nothing further, we'll adjourn.